Welcome to episode 3 of This is Acsom. I'm Paul John Dykes, and today I am delighted to be joined here at Barrow's Art and Design with Tommy Sheridan and Acsom Rabbani, where we will be talking to Bobby PETTA. So Bobby PETTA, from Barrowfield to the Barrowlands, what's your memories of Barrowfield?
Oh, the drive up from the stadium. Only a short trip, of course. So we obviously, back in the days, arrive at the stadium in your own car. Fans would come to the car, and get changed inside the dressing room, go into the car. Sometimes we share cars, and then we go down the road to Barrowfield, and always had to do a wee burly to go around to get into the car park. I remember one day when Ian Wright was just joined the club. He's just a bit crazy, so there's a few things that he would do. Sitting in front of the traffic lights, a Springfield light. So it's a Springfield, there's the bar that on that corner. He would have the car running, jump out of the driver's seats, go to somebody else's car. Right, that's one. Or one obviously you have to do a burly, but he would just go right and goes into traffic. So that was one of the memories I had from Righty when he was there. But I think the important thing, it was enough for us. You know, yes, you might think from the outside it looked a certain way, but we were happy with it. The pitches were in good condition to train on. You had fans outside, you know, the gates. They can watch what you were doing. Yeah. I've got really great memories. That for me is where it started. I remember when I just came back in 2010 to Glasgow and I said, I'm going to watch Celtic train. I'm going to go to Barrowfield. This is Bobby not at Barrowfield anymore. So what do you mean? So I've been for the last 7 years. They've been in, they've been in Leonardstown. I said, where the hell is that? I didn't know where I was. But I was like, why? Because for me it's important to get the feeling how much it means to the fans. Mm-hmm. Yeah. More interaction, because people could come to your car, would sign things, but everything was controlled. Everything was no trouble. But you can get the sense. So with the more interaction, we had more interaction with the fans, which made sure that you knew what it meant for the fans when you're playing, what it means to play for the club.
Yeah, because it seems now, Tommy, you'll remember it growing up. It seems now there's a bit of a divide between getting to the players and having that access. I mean, Lennoxtown's not the easiest site to get to, whereas you could just go down to the park, go up to Barrowfield. There was always players hanging about and willing to speak to fans, sign things and all that. I think we've lost a wee bit.
Maybe, Paul John, maybe. I think there's probably, it's like any argument you have, there's more than two sides to it, because the facilities, we've already had Simon and Jackie have talked about the facilities, one of the best. You want an elite club, and if you're going to have an elite club, then usually you need elite training facilities to go with it, and Barrowfield wasn't that, there's no doubt about that. So in order to get that step up, they've built a new facility, and it was easier to build it where they've built it than to build it in Glasgow. I think there's talk about developing one now, which I think is possibly going to change it back again, but we'll see. But even, Paul John, if we think about interaction with players and the accessibility of players, I think social media has influenced a lot of that now. I mean, a player must be frightened to burp that it's going to be caught and become a TikTok. It's very, very difficult for players, I think, to feel at ease and to talk just the way Bobby's talking today. He's probably still need to watch what I say type of thing, because it's been recorded. But we're not here to set Bobby up, whereas some people, let's face it, they do the type of things. They set people up, and it's a problem. So I know you lose a wee bit of contact, but I think we've all got to take a wee bit of shared responsibility about the way life moves on now, and how you can't really, who can you trust? So somebody's always looking to make a buck off you, whether they can get you to say something or trip you up on some point and then put it out to the social media or sell it to a newspaper, and it's sad in that respect. So there's two sides to it, Paul. One thing I was desperate to ask Bobby about, because I remember, Bobby, you talking about coming from Holland to Ipswich originally, and how you felt that physically you weren't prepared, that you weren't fit enough. I wonder, by the time you've came to Celtic, were you among the top echelon of fitness, or were you still a wee bit in the middling as far as the fitness stakes were concerned?
So when I went to Ipswich, I was not fit, and that first year was, again, for various reasons, wasn't good. But like, with the Celtic, there was a few issues, and it took me a year to get into the groove. But when I came to Celtic, they were already in Norway. We went to Norway. I think it was Trondheim. I think it was Fiderisha's place.
Okay.
The first session, and I was full of confidence. I was fit. So we did this type of drill. It's like a round circle shape, but you're in twos, and you go zigzag. It's like a clock. There's a lot of sprints. And I just went full out, and I was the fastest. I was fit, and I gave too much in the first session.
Oh, I know.
I come the second, because I know Reg was looking. Oh, let him just burn himself out there. Let's see how he gets on later on. So then later on, I was fucking dehydrated after. I was dehydrated. I said to Roddy, I'm not feeling great at all. I gave too much in there. But my fitness, in terms of fitness, I was fine. Afterwards, I was just fine. It's just in that particular year, it was more the structure, how we played on the John Barnes and obviously Kenny Dalglish. So it was, the fitness took me a year, but I got a bit of. I felt I was 72 kilos. That's what I'm now, but body fat. There was another thing, body fat composition. How much were you? And it was competition, and.
The reason I asked, Paul John, was because anytime I had seen you playing, fitness has always been a big part of your game. So when you'd made that admission about how you arrive at Ipswich and you thought you were reasonably fit, but then when you started training, you realised, by the way, I've not got the stamina.
Yeah.
By the time you get to Celtic and you're still feeling a bit fitter, that must have became a bigger part of your game, because fitness was always part of your game.
Yeah, but after my first year at Ipswich, I came back home and said, man, God, you've lost weight.
Right.
I could see it, right? I feel it, but it was nice to hear. But that's part of it then. I thought that I would be able to wear the clothes that I bought 10 years ago, still now. Still a mistake, I totally forgot. Obviously, my metabolism slows down, you're a bit bigger, and that's just the way it goes. Maintenance is key. But that fitness side of it, but bear in mind, we did the Cooper test, 12-minute run, and then we did the bleep test. Now, I know, like TJ told me would be fit. He would stop at 16, right? He was that fit. Liam Miller, God bless him, Colin Healy, they would run. Mm-hmm. Me, and this is the thing, so in terms of stats, football, that doesn't give you a good idea. It's not, I don't think it's accurate enough, because I would never go higher than 13.
Right, okay.
Which the stand is probably 14, average. But does that mean that I'm not fit enough? About being in that position, being obviously a winger or a more attacking-minded player, having to change my style, knowing the system, know when to go and not to go. Obviously, you get confused. Then the fitness in place, reserve yourself energy. Mm-hmm. So that's all part and parcel of it. But if you're a wing-back, if the ball's on the other side like Didier, you have to be at the back post. If it breaks down, you've got to come in and midfield. And if it goes back, you've got to play as a left back. Right. It's a big shift. You have to be fit. But it's most of them is also you feel fit, it's mind over matter more than anything else as well.
Mental fitness, mental sharpness. Yeah. I don't know if you guys ever done the bleep test.
I used to do that back in school,
Do
because we got it where junior teams quite a lot, and oh man. I
don't think I ever got to 13, Tommy.
No, never went near it, man. Never. That's a lot, 13, Bobby.
We did this one, when was it, in Portugal?
Right.
When God bless him, Raphael Scheidt was there too,
right? Okay.
But we did the bleep test, Portugal. And I was running alongside Reggie, and you don't want to, you can feel it, but you have to push yourself. So you don't want to be the first one to drop out.
Who was the first that dropped it?
I'm curious to know that one.
Throw them under the bus.
I think Raphael went first. One of the first ones. But then he had the teething problems and stuff like that. Again, you might think you're fit, but the playing style is just different. Yeah. And then you do this particular test. I'm not too sure. That was my second time basically. Then becomes a bit like, put to the test a bit and becomes an eye opener for you. I gotta do more. But as soon as there's one, I said no, I don't want to be the second one either. I'll just wait, and then we have to keep pushing, and then that's fine, good, higher than before, that's for sure. Every year, so you get fitter, you get a bit stronger, mentally a bit stronger, and then you kind of go further on. But there's people like Liam, Colin Healy, Tommy Johnson, they had no problem.
Yep. There's a natural stamina as well, though, Tommy. You know, I think that when you're talking about even junior level, you look at a lot of these guys getting into their 30s and they're still fit.
Yeah.
When did you notice, Bobby, that you had to work? You were saying there in the last 10 years it gets more and more difficult.
So when I finished my career in Australia in 2009, I had osteitis pubis, so inflammation on pubic bone, and it was an advanced part, so I have to really rest it until if I aggravated a little bit, I was putting back to square one, so I finished. But I always liked sports, so I started doing personal training course, but I always been like sports, so as a youngster. So I go back to my childhood, because it's natural and the interest is there. But that's when I did my course, the TRX suspension training, that was in 2009. I got the ropes back in that, which is now a big thing when we talk about now with 2024, the last 5 years, it got bigger. I was already doing that because Australia is a little bit more advanced in 2009. And then the CrossFit, when I came here in 2010, I was very busy with the CrossFit, which is now a big part of it. And the UK always is delayed, but that's when I realized that I was gaining a little bit more. Phase with fuller, and I just need to go. So that's what I hated the gym, but because people have a misconception of it, right? If you do weights, you get bigger. So no, it depends what workout you do, what weight you do. If you do high reps or low weight, you get more ripped. If you do heavy weights, not many repetitions, but heavy, it's bulking up. It's just that educating yourself, but also other people, what it's like. And if you're getting older, metabolism slows down. So, but mainly is food intake. Yeah. Because I thought I could still eat the same way as I did before, and I'll eat a lot, but you don't burn it off as much. So hence, food, the body stores it heavier. But once you start getting into it, you start noticing the benefits. And it's a rush. I need to get back into it, by the way. Well, now I'm speaking about it. But it is a wee bit of understanding, doing it, changing your diet, and kind of like the lifestyle of that.
Well, just to take you back, you mentioned obviously your first year at Ipswich, you didn't feel went as well as you might have hoped. Yeah. How did the interest with Celtic come about? Was that quite a surprise to you? Who was it? John Barnes that got in touch, or Ken Dalglish?
That was a wee bit of a surprise, to be honest, because our captain was Tony Mowbray, Moga, obviously, was at the club, and he started the huddle, and there was some previous interest of Barnsley. Barnsley wanted to buy me. Then Hearts were also interested at the time.
And the contrast, isn't it? Barnsley,
but we played in Championship, which is was a good level, by the way. And I was just happy with the interest. Oh, good. Well, let's see what else is out there, because Bosman was there. So you had a bit more advantage as a player going into your final year, maybe the final 6 months. And then. It's. What's the question?
I think you get called, because I remember. Somebody special gave you a call.
I went away, and then I was in Rotterdam walking down the street, and I got a phone call, and I don't know this number, and it was Kenny Douglas. It says, "Bobby, we want to sign you." I was like, "Oh, okay, we want to give you X amount." I was like, wait, you have to speak to my agents and stuff like that. So I was thrilled, of course.
Wait a minute, you passed over that awful quickly. Some of the listeners may not have heard who you said. Kenny Dalglish. King Kenny. I don't call him Sir, they call him Sir.
Kenny.
I suppose that's bad as well, but I prefer King to Sir.
But obviously, everybody knows who he is. He's a legend in the game, a Liverpool player, manager as well, Celtic, Scotland. So for him to, I was like, okay. And he explained to me what the plans were, with John Barnes being there, and he wanted me then. So,
but you're just walking through the street, Rotterdam, phone goes.
Casual.
Kenny's always.
I was like going around chilling. I was just basically on a holiday back home. I'm like, who's this? Oh, well, hi Bobby. And well, I can't do the accent.
Could you understand him? Maybe he's aye, maybe he's not.
Maybe I know. Aye.
It's interesting that it was Kenny that
asking
called
Kenny.
him.
That's the interesting thing.
It was Kenny and not John Barnes. Who's the manager.
Yeah. Because I think Kenny was King Kenny. So again, he was the one that was, was above, and then he had obviously who did the coaching was John, but obviously he was overseeing the kind of like the transfers and who we wanted at the club at the time. And
sorry to interrupt you again,
no, that's fine.
But one of the fascinating things that I thought about listening to some of your stories, because Paul John's already interviewed you before, but who's your agent?
Oh, who was my agent?
I mean, come on, talk about name drop. From Kenny Dalglish to who's his agent?
Well, he's from Newcastle. That's Peter Harrison. So if you look at BBC Panorama,
but he's the dad of Johan Cruyff. Is that right?
No.
Oh, sorry, I'm getting this wrong.
So when I went to, I'll go back. When I went to Ipswich, at a time, it was André Gieling and it was Onkel Cor Costa, who was the father-in-law of Johan Cruyff.
Right, sorry.
He was the one that established that connection with Ipswich. He sorted out that deal. So Johan Cruyff, I was good friends with Jordi, his son. Where Cruyff beats all that stuff. But when I went to, then later on during Ipswich times, I went to another.
Okay.
I went to another.
I'm just fascinated with all the names, Bobby. It's connected with you.
Oh, that's it. He's connected to me too.
I'm old enough. I think I might be the oldest at the table because I actually was privileged to see Kenny play for Celtic, and obviously as a kid watching Cruyff and the World Cups and the Euros, and I mean, just fascinating.
So just to go back a bit. So, Uncle was my agent, and he had André Gieling, who was on the footballing side of it. And then also when I was 18, there was a friendly game, Feyenoord versus Barcelona. I think it was 93. I think it was. It's still on YouTube. That was. Me and Jova's first official outing at the Feyenoord at the Kuip in the stadium. We came on the second half. Now in that game that was the first game of Romario playing for Barcelona. That was his first game. So you had Koeman, you had Nadal, you had Amor, you had Guardiola, you had Stoichkov, you had Michael Laudrup, you had all of them, right? And I'm just and I mean. Stoichkov for me at the time he was brilliant, so it was outstanding. So when you get starting from the second half and then you play and you score 2 goals and win 4-2.
You scored 2 goals?
Yeah.
Wow.
You scored 2. So one was a header and one was assist. So you got Dean Goré. We say Dean Goré. He was also part of the Scottish setup at some point. So yeah, that was a memorable time for me. But I was wearing, so you got joint clothes.
Wait a minute, I might have misheard you there, Bobby, because it sounds awful rare. You scored with a head.
So with a head. Oh yeah. Well, we're right. I'll change it. Right. There's a Paul Constantin winger. He was brilliant winger. Also Dutch national team. Especially, I think he played in the World Cup '94 in America. Cross comes from the right. Gets deflected, and I'm at the back post and bounce up, and I just come into it. And I knew what I was doing. I flicked over the goalkeeper, over Zubizarret, and then within the next one was a side pass from the 1-on-1 bump. And I was thinking at that time,
you've just scored 2 goals against Barcelona.
Yeah, but I was like, before I kicked, I said, let's hope it doesn't bubble up. But the thing was, Johan Cruyff was the head coach. Now I was wearing Cruyff football boots with an orange tick. There's only one person who had that one before, and that was Dennis Bergkamp.
Right.
I wanted it because it was kangaroo leather. Nobody else had apart from Dennis Bergkamp. And I was like, I would love to. And that was the time when I wore those boots and the whole everything around it.
Brilliant.
It just for me was again.
What age were you at this time?
I was 18.
18. 18 years of age, scored 2 goals against Barcelona.
Did you say
Zubizarret?
No.
Was in goals.
So casually as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, but then you had is it the one Ferrari, or the other one that was ended up for playing for Chelsea. Yeah, that's an era that I played. I mean, at Feyenoord, you were 17, 18. We played against FC Porto and the UEFA. I'm on the bench when I was younger. You know, you're part of it. So I have that experience, what it is to everything to build up. And you know, you were only young kids, but I mean, who doesn't remember Couto from Porto with the big hair? And you know, that was the start of everything. And then I realized when I was a young kid and a bit more experienced after, I'm like, I was a wee rascal. I thought I knew it a little bit better, but that's just part of the football development, but also personally, how things go. Because I was a big high self-belief, and I did things spur of the moment, bam, 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 and I just do it, free flowing. And then you realize when then the coaching comes in, and it changes things a bit. Where there's a wee quote from one of my former teammates. Is I think there was a story about the old guard and the new generation coming through. What was it like at Feyenoord? Now, no one man. And I said, Bobby, he said to this, I remember one session where literally one of the players got kicked off the park, and that was Bobby. Kicked off the park was that good. He was kicked off the park because I don't like people taking Mickey. And that's just me just, like saying, oh look, this happened. That happened years ago when I was younger, and I was free. And this is another thing we'll tap into that about football has changed, about the mental aspect of it. I do it because, you know, the younger you are, you have to play with freedom, no fear. Yeah. But then you get older, and there's more thought. Where the manager wants other things maybe, and try to keep playing with a clear mind, with a mind free when you're fearless, basically.
And would you have said, because I think you have admitted in those days that you were maybe a wee bit outspoken and that you were maybe a wee chip in your...
I think because I knew it all better, but I just say it how it is, to be honest, Tommy. I just say it. So we had I wasn't long at the club, Dordrecht 90. And they had a manager there who was a former goalkeeper. And we had an interview with Football International, it's a big magazine, and the interview that was there too. And I asked him about, there's a few things were happening at that club, and my experience. And I didn't know the consequences, I know a bit now. But who cares, I'm not in football in a sense, so I can speak about it, which is quite funny, where I said, look, I don't mind people coaching me and managing me, but how am I going to believe a coach that has never been a left winger and tell me how to play football, how to take people on? I'm like, I'm not going to, I know my limits. He says, you're a goalkeeper. I said, you've never been out of your box, so you can tell me how to. But that was me. That was the way I looked at it.
Get back in your box.
Yeah, back in your box. So you're going to tell me how to take people on. You take anybody on. For that matter, that was my thought process. But you know what, right? And I remember the next year, I got back to Feyenoord. That's when Henrik came to Feyenoord. Or 2 weeks after, I went to RKC. Giovanni was the season when I was at that club called Dordrecht 90. He was at RKC. Then we came back. He stayed and also did his thing. I went to RKC, hoping that it would be the same thing. But that's when I played against Dordrecht 90. Manager was in. Now I get on with all the players, right? He says, Bobby, unfortunately I was injured. And obviously, after the game, I seen the manager. And he was like, he's a big man, right? He has a big scar because one of the actions as a goalkeeper coming out. He was wearing the scar, right? I was only 19. I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get it here. He's gonna tell me off. And I said, oh, you're right, Bobby. He said, all right, this and that. And was afterwards to some of the players' friends. Bobby, you know what he said before? He said, when you see that, Bobby, please kick him. But he didn't know, and this is the thing, that I was only saying what a lot of people were saying.
Ah, right. So you had the courage to say what everybody else was saying.
Yes. Okay. Well, because Bobby, you pick up on things, on patterns, how people behave, but you're spot on. I says, obviously you're the one that says it, but you're the one that's going to cop it. You know what I mean? But we all agree with. We all say, yeah, we're going to kick him. But we're not going to kick Bobby because he's right.
Right.
He's a good lad. But it was. Very much struggle.
Surely as a footballer, especially a winger, you've got, see if you've not got a bit of cockiness and a bit of arrogance, I don't think you're going to be as good a player. You need that bit of gallousness, as we would call it in Scotland, and you need that. I mean, can't be arrogant as such, but see if you're not a wee bit arrogant.
I'll call it like maybe a little bit of flair, a bit
Flair.
of flair. I think there's a bit more flair.
It's interesting you say that, Bobby, because that kind of ties into John Barnes, who obviously signed you for Celtic, and we spoke about some footballing greats, and he's right up there as one of those, and a flair player himself. So it's interesting from a Celtic fan's point of view why that didn't seem to work out for John himself and for you and his team. Was it primarily, obviously, the system which didn't play with wingers, or was there just a feeling around the club at that point that things weren't quite right?
I think for me, and I've spoken to other people about it, and I was really honest, I'm like, well, we had good players, but you have to, and this is maybe, it's a criticism, with all the experience you have as a player, and then also as a player manager, having played in Scotland, do you know that the 4-2-2-2 whatever without Victor Winners is not going to help? Why would you put, so we had 2-2-2, and then they were exposed on the wings. Yeah. You had Stefan Mahe, and you had Vida Riseth. But they had to come from deep to go up. But the situation is gone then to attack. Now you have a left winger like myself, and even Reggie, exposed. Why just leave us? Why just put us there? And that was one of the frustrating things. I'm playing this left. I sometimes played right of the midfield players. Well, I just do whatever. You improvise, you get understanding of it. But still, ultimately, the best way for me to attack is from the outside in, as opposed to from the inside and then out and try to play passes through. So I think the choice of playing with that system didn't work, and I think there have to be a bit of responsibility that we should have known better.
Yeah.
I had no problem with John Barnes at all. From Digger, he talks very fast sometimes, like myself. I do speak a bit fast, but I understood what he was trying to do. But after a while, it didn't work. They had to change things, and I think it didn't change. But I was just young, so I kept my mouth shut. And then it started festering. Certain individuals, they had a bit of a problem with the way he was dealing with things, and it was a little bit frustrating. And that's where there was no collectiveness in this everything, because people had their own individual issues with things, how things were run. And I think back in the days, we had a meeting was. McDonald, I know his first name, but he was there.
Alan McDonald.
Had a meeting, and there was a lot of things going on. But as a player, you don't want to get involved with that. You just want to play football. But personally, I'm thinking, why do we play this system? I'm not the only one, majority. Why do you play this system when we have that is open? Why don't you use that? You have Stan Petrov playing right back. He's a midfield player. There are people can utilize his position, which they would do okay. But after a while, it starts to break apart. Yeah. I mean, it's a no-brainer, to be honest. So that's why it fell apart. And obviously, the infamous game where we lost, that was the final straw.
It was the final straw. It's interesting when you're talking about King Kenny giving you the phone call, because I've often wondered what the makeup of the managerial team was, Bobby. I mean, who picked the team, for example?
I don't know. I just know there wasn't on it after.
Was it still the old-fashioned team list up on our notice board? Was that how it worked?
No. No, there's many times, different ways. I am not really shocked because I've experienced it all. It's just the way it is. Let's get on with it. But for me, it was. I knew that I wasn't going to be on the first 11. So I mean, I was just looking at the next 4 or 5. And I remember when King Kenny was, after John Barnes left, it was team sheet, and they named the team. And then the subs were mentioned, and I look across the dressing room and I go look at Reggie. Say, hear your name. Say, hear your name. Are you on it? Because I couldn't understand. Right.
Because it was kind of dogwitch.
I couldn't understand really. And he was leaning against the door like this, and I was looking at his lips. Okay, that's a level. The next 4 or 5. Right, I'm just to make sure. Are you on it? I'm on it. I look at the sheet. Said Teddy Gano. Let's give me the sheet. I'm not on it. Damn right. Okay. But I could, do my thing. Disappointing, of course, but yeah, it was. If everybody's got like, but Martin, you don't know until hour and a half before the game. Other managers within the final training session to give you the bib, so you can tell. It's just the same. You know what's going to play and not going to play. So who's going to decide? You would think John Barnes, but I think it's a combination of.
So Martin didn't let you know until about an hour and a half before the kickoff.
You already know as player that you're going to be in the starting lineup. Again, there was other players out there that was a bit like who's going to make the bench.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think nowadays, even I after a while, the rules change. I'm like, how many bloody subs are there? I'm like, well, back in the days. No, tell you something. When I was at Ipswich, there's only 3 subs or 2 subs. Well, you had the goalkeeper, you had a player that could play on the goals too. It was the goal in Holland flying goalkeeper. He was loose, he could go. And then you had 2 other players. You know what I mean? So for me, it was really, from 3 to 4 or 5. Now look at there's a whole bench of a whole team now on the bench,
and especially in Europe. Especially in the European games.
The weekends. Yeah.
A couple of names that you've mentioned, just to backtrack a wee bit. Tony Mowbray, did you get a chance to speak to Mogga before you came to Celtic, and did he give you any advice?
Yeah, he was. I noticed it in a local evening standard. I think it was Evening Star in Ipswich. It was a story, and when my name could mention, Celtic was interested. So back in the days, it was again the old ways, newspaper reports in the newspaper, especially as opposed to having the phone and the access to the internet as such. And he mentioned to me, he's like, Bobby, and I wasn't sure. I heard about it, and that's as far as it went. Nobody has contacted me directly. So we were doing warm up and we're doing stretching, and he was talking about it. I says, Bobby, I've played for Celtic, what it's like, and even Alec Maffey, I've got to mention him, he was my former teammate at Ipswich, also been at Celtic as a youngster. And he says, look, Bobby, this is a different kind of fish. This is not East Anglian Derby, where you got 1,000 people there. This is 60,000, and now don't miss a trick. I can tell you all about it, but you won't know what it's like until you're there. So I'm not too sure if you go, but if it's true, and if you're gonna go there, it is more than a club. It's not just the 60,000. Everybody else around it, and you think you understand, but once you're there, then you kind of know what it's like, and just to jump onto it. I'm actually, hindsight, glad that I've had not so good of a first year, because that makes me had to work hard and maybe appreciate the good time that came after a lot more. Okay. I think that has to be said, and I think looking back in my career, first year at Ipswich was tough. First year at Celtic was tough. I had to go through that process to kind of fight through it, to showcase myself. Because I had a tendency, to be honest, a little bit complacent. I must admit that. But when I had to, I could put it back on. Yeah. But the consistency of doing it every week out, because I'm a player on feel, an emotional feel. So that's basically, I spoke to Martin about recently. I said, no, we tried to kind of trigger something in you, hoping they will have a response. But knowing now afterwards, you're a different person. You're quite sensitive, and that is, and that's just my makeup. That's the way I am. But that also has an influence on playing, like you said about wingers, it's on and off.
Surely, Bobby, there must have been a world of difference from John Barnes, who was a fantastic player, as we all know, but if I'm not mistaken, it was his first foray into management, compared to Martin O'Neill, who comes was a great player, but he's already an accomplished manager. Was there a tangible difference for you?
Absolutely, straight away. When he came, because we've seen him doing obviously the commentating as a pundit for one of your football tournaments that was out there. I kind of get an idea for what he's like, and straight away, as soon as he walks into the room, He also uses that respect. Everybody's quiet.
Right.
Even Chris is quiet. Thomas is quiet. So we all have a bit of a bad, but as soon as he enters the room, everybody's like this. You got the respect.
Right.
And it's a big difference. There was a better structure. There's better organized. It's not complicated. It's quite straightforward in the whole setup. So we play Europe 4-4-2 mainly. Be more as a group. There's more of a block of defenders. It's more of a unit. It's where we play at home 3-5-2.
Right.
It's, a bit more freer. But everybody knows the responsibility. We never practiced on it. We just put on the wall, Bobby, with corners for and against this position, right? Free kicks from this side, where you want to be. It's very straightforward. Once you've seen it once, and that's what I said, when you've seen it once, you know it. And I kept it that simple.
Okay.
And that's, I think, what I mentioned previous Q&As or gatherings I mentioned. We didn't practice on it. We like nowadays, again, football has excelled. It's more about sports science, stats. You go here, you go there. There's a session, it's just standing still, move about, phases of play, as we call it. This is what they do, this is what position. No, we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Then we didn't do that. We just did our usual sessions. The toughest, it was tough, but the easiest one, the lightest one was on a Friday, young v old. But apart from that, we didn't specifically train on the opponent in it. But we kept it very simple.
What was your favourite, Bob? Because I'm fascinated by all the different formations, and I think we've agreed that 4-2-2-2 isn't exactly one that we would love. But I've got to say, I love 3-5-2. I think it's very attacking.
I would think just because we associate that with those times under Martin.
Do you know
well,
what? I don't know.
You know?
I think you have to have the players, because I think, so let's put it this way, you can start something off at 3-5-2, but during the course of the day, of the game, you could end up at 4-5-1.
Yeah.
Right? Things change. Okay. It's just your setup. But if I remember, play games and you're up against it. No, you don't play as a winger. You'll be more as a left back sometimes, right? And then there's only one up, but then there's maybe 4 midfield, so 5, 4, and then Chris will have a good club.
Just from a, I'm speaking out of turn here because my experience of management, Castle Huntly prison I was the manager, so and I played the 3-5-2 and we did brilliantly. So, but I always stick to myself. Yeah. Very, very few teams play with more than out and out 2 forwards. So if you've got 3 defenders, you should be able to mark them and have 1 spare, right? But when you've got the ball, if you've got 2 wide, 3 across the middle, 2 up, it's a very, very attacking unit. I love it as a system.
But also, I think what made us is the type of players we had, and that what made us strong, because the other because we had myself at the one end on the left, or say he was in the centre midfield, Didier on the right. I mean, as I said, we had men at the back, no nonsense. We had everything in that team. I had Lenny and Lambo, Tomo, Stan, Lubo. That I mentioned that we have different combinations, right? Different styles of how we maybe want to. The Gaffer wanted us to play the game, so sometimes he would play Lubo, and up front with Henrik. Does that make sense? So he would, but the system is the same. But we understood that Chris is a different player than Lubo. So there's the movement. We already felt I'll go this. You adapt, but we keep your shape. Yeah. That you see now where inverted backs are going inside and go, well, where are you going? Yeah. It's again very old-fashioned, but it was clear for us. So we could go for 4-4-2, which is standard. I mean, I have 4-3-3, 4-4-2, 3-5-2.
That first season under Martin, he spoke quite publicly about Rangers being the benchmark, and obviously they'd won the league by 20-odd points the season before. Did you feel quite early on in that season that we've got a special team here, we could really do something, or was it that famous Rangers 6-2 victory that kind of gave everyone that belief?
I think it was that first one of the season that was the best, because I've watched many old firms in my first year from the stands, not even on the bench, on the stands. And so I had an idea where we went wrong. And look, I'm a player, but I know how they got forgotten because he used to be, and his team used to be part of the Dutch national team setup for youth team, all the way to youth. So I know how he plays. So I was really dumb. Why are we not playing with wingers? Because they attacked us on the wing.
Right.
So how you going? So it is a no-brainer for me. But that's when Martin came. Personally, just this experience I had in my first year at Ipswich, just focus on what you need to do. Just forget about everything else. And that's what I done. The Gavin didn't join in until Copenhagen. So Tommy Burns was there. He helped me a lot. And then he comes on and gradually I had a look. He's very clever. What he knows, what he's got. And he looks at the attitude of the players and gives everybody a chance, but he has an idea how he wants to play. Now you only have to look at let's say Leicester, how he likes to play, right? And that's, now he has the players and he knows what we're up against as a club, and I know what he expected to turn out the way it did. I won't take it back, of course, he's brilliant, but for me personally to get the nod, because I started not on the bench, so I started on the bench. And then Hearts, I started to get back into it, and Hearts I got then assist, cross on Chris, corner. I mean, I was in the flow, then I should have had a chance. Then Henrik let it run, and I was like, but I was enjoying my football. So I was playing as a winger, but I know my job I had to defend, but I didn't mind because I was fit.
Okay.
So I go with it, and I remember Henrik saying to me at times, "Good position, Bob. Good position." Just especially for second balls, just to be in a position where you could cover, you could maybe put pressure on the ball, just in the right position to play part in team structure and stuff like that.
And see your games, Bobby, did you, because you always hear that standard talk for a manager, win your battles, win your personal battles, right? Yeah. As a winger, did it mean a big bit to you when you first went by that fullback? Because then you knew you had the fullback. I mean, was that always something that you would go in your mind?
Yeah, I was always that. I have to go back to the Ipswich because it's a red line through it. It got comparisons here. So Acsom was also very important for me after my first year. I go back to, it was Brian Hamilton. I think it was Northern Irish. And he came as an assistant to George Berlin. And he said, Bob, run all over him. And he's like, I'm put pressure, and I love that. I thrive on that. Because he knows I'm fast. And then putting pressure, keep going. And then that experience, and it worked. I responded to that. And he knew that. Told me the same thing. Yeah. Because he was managed at Reading when I was at Ipswich. And I played a good game. I played a good game. But he knows what kind of player he identifies. He's a football man, so he knows players. And he says, Bob, I know what the problem is. I know it's daunting. The confidence is down. I worked me off the pitch how to work on certain things, but he says, like he just said, so Bob, you want to win over the fence? It's the first ball you got. Run. Like Brian says, run all over him, run him. And Thomas is like, but it was there, it just didn't believe it. And he says, no, just go. Set your stall out, run all over him. Go past him. You get a throw in, you get a free kick or a corner out. That's what people love to see. It's me understanding what the fans are happy with. As long as you can play a bad game, but as long as you give your heart and soul, you work, they can say, look, not the best of games, but did you work hard for it?
We love wingers to try and take on their fullbacks. I mean, there's nothing better than a winger going and hitting the space and trying to get. I hate when wingers come back all the time. Come back
last season, Tom.
It was terrible.
How was it for you, Bobby, as a winger watching Celtic last season? Because it was frustrating as a fan at times, wasn't it?
You just said the word there.
Yeah.
But I really have to. I have it in a conversation with myself. I say, stop. Can't compare it with my times because things have changed. But then you look at just the very basic standard things what you do in that position. Just take them on. The moment is there.
James came back into the team, and what did he do? He took on his man.
Exactly.
He had the line. He got crosses again.
Yeah.
I'm saying to myself, come on, guys, you are on the wing for a reason.
Yes, and I think, you know, I don't know what it is, where you try to create a different style and then to be kind of named after that's that style. Who cares? Everybody's got a certain style of playing, right? But everybody seems to try to figure something else out. I'll do this is the way I like to play. It's complicated sometimes.
Yeah, overcoached.
Overcoached, right?
But the thing I take confidence from listening to Bobby's stories is you had a difficult time your first year at Ipswich. You can tell you're a confidence player, and a lot of wingers are.
Yeah.
So like you're talking about the likes of Palma and Yang, who we've not maybe seen the best of, and I think I've heard you say before you don't like the word flop being used for players because it can just be different circumstances.
Yeah, but this is so easy. And this is a problem I have. Too easy is a flop.
Yeah.
Well, it might be. Why I used to was flop? Just because, see, in order to become a professional football player, you know what you need to do? You have no freaking clue.
Yeah.
No clue.
Yeah.
But when we give criticism or constructive criticism, it comes from a point of experience, right? Well, we might agree with what you're saying, but there's more in detail reasons why we say it that way. But when somebody is good, you're from hero to zero in no time.
Palma's a great example. Started his Celtic career brilliantly, scored in the Champions League, and then missed those 2 penalties. Confidence went down a bit. But I guess that's encouraging for us listening to Bobby that there's still a player in there potentially to get his confidence up again.
We've got to remain constructive as him. I think as fans, Bobby, I hope that's something that comes across. That see if you're going to criticise. Criticism's part of life. We've all got opinions, for goodness sakes. Yeah. Sometimes it's no informed opinion, unfortunately. But be constructive. Don't just be negative all the time. Don't just bring people down. Anybody I have criticised from a Celtic point of view, it's always been with a heavy heart because I want them to succeed. Yeah. The boy that comes to mind now is the boy Kuhn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, there's been a lot of money spent on this guy. And by all accounts, he came and he had an illness, he had dental problems, he'd lost a lot of weight, so he'd lost a lot of strength. Then he had a couple of decent games. And I'm saying, right, okay, that's why we've signed him. Towards the end of the season, I was unconvinced, but I'm taking encouragement from what you've said.
Yeah.
Because you're saying, took you a season.
Yeah.
So maybe Nicholas next year is going to come in and he's going to show us why Brendan spent the money on him.
Yeah, and I hope so, because I'm looking and I'm like, okay, and this is a conversation I have. That was tough back in the days, and football has changed the whole dynamics of things. How you coach, you got a lot of things. You can't really be hard. I mean, that's hard. The manager's way or see you later. Now you got to approach them a little bit better. Got everything, but I'm like, you still have to play football, right? But you have to say it how it is. Man up, that was not good enough, right? Are you happy? Regardless if you're just looking at your position as a player, did you do enough? Your role as a player, as a winger, did you take him on enough? Did you have opportunities to take him on? Yes. Why didn't you? Are you happy with that poll? Yes. You have to analyze. Doesn't matter if you come on as a sub for 5 minutes or this. You have to analyze what I could have done, what I might do the next time, right? I don't think that they will look at them at the game and analyze their performances. I like to think. I hope they do, or are they on their freaking TikToks again and looking good and doing the videos? It says,
I have no idea who you're talking about there.
Yeah,
Look at that wee.
He got a big smile on his face, and he wears number 7. But and I've said it, and I'm gonna say it, right. As a winger, I see what you should be doing. You're not doing it. He's very what's the called word for predictable.
Yeah.
3 things: go the outside, it goes across, it never cuts back. Plays the ball inside, and it goes in, and it's too neat, in my opinion. It's too neat. But going for a fight back, back tackle, and do a bit more. Kuhn, it comes on, but everybody back Holland, so I'm not too sure about it. It's a bit light, and I'm not too sure. I can't really shoot. I heard all these things, right? But I'm like, you know what? I just need to see for myself, and it's not easy. Times are different. Give it a shot. Let's hope really that the next year they come back knowing, hopefully Brendan's still there, so they understand what he wants to do, and it gives them a better platform to kind of say, right, no excuses now in that sense, if that makes sense. I know what to expect, I know what he wants, I know what the training sessions are like, I know the schedule, the routine. and I better
It's
than
a
my.
big culture shock. I mean, we're very unforgiving, aren't we? Because we expect people to come in right away,
True.
bang, everything goes hunky dory. But people came from a different country, different culture,
It's
meeting
difficult.
new people, even language. I'm sure there's still some language problems in terms of communication, but you need to show that there's something there. I mean, I can always remember our first view of you as a player. You had a great left foot. You seemed to be able to. It was almost like a wand. So even if you had a bad game, somebody would say, but he can come good in the future. And I just hope that some of the players were mentioned.
I think we proved that way had a bit of a thicker skin as well.
And I would, that's a good point, because look, it sounds like you're critical and this and that, so but try to be constructive. So when I speak about other players or that position, I'm looking at them, you think I'm critical. I'm not critical to myself first and foremost, right? That's how I think about myself. And I put myself down a lot during games to be better. It's not good enough. How many times come out about that was a brilliant game? I was like, no, I'm not happy with this and that. In your head is not perfect. So when I look at, I expect more. Right? And that's being honest. So when I watch the players, I know you can do more. And you have to show more. Mm-hmm. See, that's what I'm. So you might think, he doesn't like him. No, you have to do more. I know you can do more.
Yes.
We've now reached the part of this show where a legend calls a fan. And over the last couple of weeks, we have been speaking to people like Laura Bradburn and Jamie Tierney. This week, it's the shot of Jim Livingston, who's a man, he's been in touch with me for many, many years now. He helped me out with contacts for my first book, but he's having a bit of a hard time, and he's going to get a surprise if, indeed, he answers this phone, and I hope he does answer the phone. So let's give Jim a wee phone call from Bobby PETTA.
Hi Jim, it's Bobby PETTA here. I'm good, thank you. How are you? Yeah, getting by. Been tough, huh? Yeah, no, keep the faith, keep going, stay strong, and try to stay as possible. It's not always easy, of course, but there's people out there who are there to support you and who are there with you.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
I've got a lot of friends in about me.
Good, that's good. Get find strength out of that, and that's all I can say. Just stay with it, and keep working hard towards that.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome, Jim.
I certainly will. And it's a pleasure to speak to you.
Yeah, and as I said this before, you never walk alone. Just remember that.
There we go.
You'll never walk alone.
No.
You're right, man.
All right. God bless you, man.
God bless. Thanks very much.
You're welcome, Jim.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well done, Bobby. That was fantastic.
Beautiful.
Excellent. Well done, mate.
During your time at Celtic, you played alongside Henrik, but you knew Henrik from your Feyenoord days. Mm-hmm. And it occurred to me, Bobby, that you've known kind of three versions of that player. The young guy at Feyenoord, Henrik pre-leg break, and then the Henrik Larsson that just became an absolute legend after the horrific leg break. I mean, when I saw that as a fan, I thought, he's not coming back from that. He must be a special individual, really focused in his craft as well.
Well, you're right. I mean, I don't think a lot of even the players they think, how is he going to come back from that? But that shows the character of Henrik, that he came back before the time period that is said, probably 8 months. He'd done it back quicker. So I think with that experience and his mindset too, the person that he is, so work extremely hard to get back on the pitch, look after himself. Be extremely focused, and he just came back quicker, and he was in many ways he was maybe more determined. I don't know, but he was just better than. He was always extremely good, great to play with. But yeah, you do notice that when it comes back, you maybe at the beginning with the tackles, you think you bit.
Oh, I remember you had a tackle and
you'd be like, it's not. But I think that shows you the character of the player, that you're these things unfortunately happen, but to be able to blank that out, I'm gonna get knocked. You know that mindset, all determination. But him as a character, how he deals with setbacks, and I came back only stronger. And sometimes that's it's like you need to incur some hard, some difficult times in order to bounce back from it and to grow from it. And nobody thought, well, I didn't think you would come back this quickly. Afterwards I did record speech for
I think it was Euro 2000 in the summer, and he'd set himself that goal. Yeah. And I remember, I think he scored for Sweden in one of the group games, and you're just like, this guy's unreal. And then he must have been an absolute dream to play with, because you mentioned about players that, the work rate that he puts in. He's like a world-class player, but set an example from the front. I used to remember watching him, and he'd never give up on lost causes. It must have been a delight to play with.
Yeah, and I think some of I was watching Celtic and I watched some of the strikers, and I just go, you might not have the best of games, but please, defending starts from the front. Mm-hmm. Henrik will not just go to you if you have the ball. He would go in a position where he would just arc his run, so he forces you down the line. Defense, midfield can set up. If he cuts off the line, then you know that he's forcing back inside again. Mm-hmm. So it makes it easy, because then he can set up as a team behind him what potentially could happen. And so it starts from the front, not from the back. It starts from the front, and that's basically it.
It reminds me of the wee saying that it's accredited to Muhammad Ali, but I'm sure he wasn't the first one to say it. But he used to always say that getting knocked down is not a problem, it's being able to get back up again. Yeah. That's what makes you a character, and Henrik proved that he was a character.
Absolutely. You're going to have horrific, so lucky enough, I never broke, a leg, like I can still see that footage, because I was at the time, that was obviously in Lyon and on the bench, and it happened just like that. Ugly, think about it. And, obviously, it was heartbroken. The team was a big shock, because it's extremely important to us as a team. And when he's not there, then he kind of struggle a bit, of course. And but then he comes back even better. And, but it's a joy to play with, because I did say to him when we came after, I think, one of the charity games. I think it must have been against Man United. I think. With John Kennedy's
game,
and I said to Henrik, so it's so easy I find it easy to play with you, because if I'm on the left hand side and I just got the ball, and I'm on the final third, and I have the ball, I take it out of my feet and I look up, where the best place is for you to receive the ball, and we're on the same left. I know where I would like you to be. And I'm going to play this ball, and he reads it, so you're in the same way. So you have to understand football as well. He makes himself available. He's very clever that, for example, if you're up against it, and he knows I'll drop it in that box, he knows where to go. But he's waiting for the foul to make. To stop the flow, for us to settle. You know what I mean? That's also football IQ.
Yep.
Like having the ball finally down the line, he just lets it run and runs it down just to kill time or whatever, to support. There's very reasons, but he's clever, very clever, works extremely hard, quiet, he's very determined, likes his golf, probably he likes basketball too.
Was he quite quiet in the dressing room then, just had that presence?
He doesn't really say him, he's not like a Tomo, Lenny, probably Tomo, needs to be heard. Funny enough, needs to be heard. Yeah. Lenny's, but that's just their personality. Yeah. Me, I just quiet. I'm zoning in my own way. Don't be like music. Don't be like the shout. And if you do your boots up and it's they come like right this way here. Come on, I'm like. But everybody's got their own wee thing.
Yeah.
And it's scary. But I think that makes our team again special, because let's say 20 members in the team had something to give.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned you finished your playing career in Australia.
Yeah.
Obviously, you then started playing with guys like me and Tommy Sheridan. Not at Castle Huntly, I've got to add, Tommy.
Earlier on, you were saying you came off the park feeling as though you could have done more. I mean, I can relate to that, because a couple of times I've played with you.
That's because he was up till 5 in the morning, Tommy.
What we could have done more.
It's a bit harsh, Dolly. It's a bit harsh.
And Frank, God bless his soul, used to think.
Oh my gosh.
My God, remember you and him used to have some verbal battles, isn't it?
Great to watch, Tommy.
But so there was a time, right? I played as a left back, and I was this left winger, and the ball came, and I was defending, and I notched the ball. I was on the ground, but notched the ball just enough, like, dude, it's there for you now to take her. And he stood still, and I'm looking. I'm like, am I? And Frank is looking at me like, that's your fault. I'm like, surely not. I mean, I knocked the ball, I can't get up. But I'll leave for him just to nick. Come. And he's standing looking at me as I'm lying on the ground. He says, who's going to go first? And he's giving me the blame for it. And I'm like, are you serious? But even Rudy Vata, I was like this. And I'm like, are you blaming me? Come on, man.
Rudy Vata blamed you. It's not like
No, he didn't blame me. It was Frank that.
Frank.
So Frank.
When you were in Australia, did you have any dealings with Ange, the big man?
Well, Ange was the setup in Australia is such. You've got the football. Australian Football Federation, and then there's always Australian Institute of Sports. Very much on that, but that's where he was also involved with. He was involved with obviously the young Socceroos there, and the Dutch were very important in Australia because Hamburger was one of the technical directors there, head of everything. The national bonds coach of Australia was also a former coach of Feyenoord at the time, who now unfortunately passed away. Obviously, before that was Gus Hiddink. But that football philosophy is based on the Dutch one, and that's 4-3-3. Now, how you want to implement the 4-3-3 is your way. But Ange is very much like that. It's more attacking minded. Nobody plays 4-3-3 the same way, but you'll probably seen it and figure it out. But Ange was with the young Socceroos. Then he went to, I think, was it Brisbane Roar, Queensland's Roar, because they changed names for them. His first year, unbeaten.
Brisbane Roar, yep.
Yeah, was unbeaten. And then I think I went back to that, and he went back to state team, because I think he went away from he went away from the Football Federation, and I don't know actually for what reason, but I do remember that in 2009. I was playing for a state team in Melbourne called Heidelberg. I was run by a Greek kind of run club. And I was struggling with visa because every time it was the same thing, 3 months renew it. I said, done it 3 months ago. So you got the paperwork, why do you have to do it again? Anyways, I left, but he rang me up, Ernst rang me up. And I says, Bobby, it's Ernst Poskoglu here. I says, hello, how are you doing? I says, listen, I'm going to be involved with, I think was Green Gully. Said, I would like you to come in, to join me there. And I was like, I really appreciate it, but the whole thing about going through the process of visas, it's doing me nothing, to be honest. I said, thank you for the interest, but I'm just going to leave it. But he likes football, he likes the Dutch way of play, being a Dutch player, like the winger. And he's brought on some young talented players, and gives them the time, gives them the opportunity and the platform to go out there and play football, which is also a thing, because it's exciting, because young players, we spoke before, because it's fresh, they feel us, and they will do their thing. They're not as much coached, there's a bit of experience, but that's the beauty of it. Let them go, nobody expects this, because it's free. He's not bombarded with too many instructions as such. Wait and see how he goes with it. You know what I mean? It's like, for instance, I don't know, maybe like Luke Littler, fucking brilliant. That's his first year. How long can he cope? Yep. So you want to give it a platform. It does good enough. Let's see how that young player develops and evolves and keeps up. But Ange is very good at that. Very good in scanning talent and putting his message across. You see some of the footage as well on Celtic. It's not always worth. You heard it at Spurs. Don't play it backwards, because at times he wants to keep it moving, and I quite attackable. I like it because high press.
You'd have suited an Ange team, wouldn't you?
I probably did, because I like the way he plays high press. Because if you win the ball, you got short way to go. It's that simple. Yeah. But that means that everybody behind you needs to have that role. I need to be spot on. But you can train. You need to train on that as a collective. We, even at Feyenoord, but even I would say with the Dutch national team, we would shape and we would work on it. When a ball goes away, you're not. Balls move, now you move here. He comes in. But on the shout, I don't give the shout, the person next to me or behind me gives a shout because he can see it. Shut off the light, go now.
Yeah.
And that's, everybody knows that rule, what it needs to do. And that's, obviously when you play Real Madrid, then a little bit quicker and a flick. But that's how I like it because it's positive. It requires a lot of energy. It requires to keep that going. And the higher level of competition you play, the more intense it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Anges likes his football, I said, and it was nice for him to ask me, but unfortunately I had to decline it because I had it already in my mind, so it was just enough, and had my.
Okay, so Bobby knocked Ange back. You talked about the Dutch style as well. Another thing I want to mention, Bobby, is that some Celtic fans, I think, unfairly say Bobby PETTA 2 games, 6-2, Ajax.
Yeah.
But I always point out that it was a run of form that got you, and it wasn't for the first time, in the Dutch national squad. You had to pull out sometimes because of injury, etc. But it was a run of form, and that's how the Ajax game was so important to you, wasn't it?
What was the Ajax game? Well, no, actually, the 6-2 game was important for me just because it was my first Old Firm, and also Louis van Gaal was the boss coach.
Yeah.
He was not really there to watch me play because I know him from my time at Feyenoord youth teams. He was youth coach of Ajax. I played many times against him. So nice type of player I am. He knows his football. But I took a bit of a detour, and he was happy after to say, look, Bobby put himself in the spotlight with his performance. And if you had an opportunity to ask him, and he'd be very direct, he says, it changed because I know Bobby from when he was there, the type of player he was, and then what he had to see now, and the process, and people back in Holland always say, no, I'm not too sure if you're going to come back. That's another thing, which is a former teammate of mine who played for Ipswich at the time, later on after me. He says, Bobby, I need to give you full props. He says, see, when you left Holland, everybody wrote you off. I mean, he came up, I said, I'm saying this, it meant a lot to me. He says, you done very well, and you've done it again. So it's that fight to show people by yourself, because they write you off, right? And that's just a fantastic thing. But I keep losing track of those.
Oh, that game.
The ice. So that was,
which is
but that was just to get on noticed. But it was that whole season, like you said. Mm-hmm. And the Ajax game, that was it.
Who would he have been there to see then? You're saying he wasn't there to see you.
So Giovanni van Bronckhorst.
Okay.
Roland de Boer.
Okay.
Is this a 6-2 game? Yeah, they had a lot of Dutch.
So he's coming over,
Continent,
looking for them, and you've actually forced your way in his opinions, which was fantastic.
And it's and to be honest, Van Gaal, I know him as a coach, and I wish I had experienced a bit more time on him, because I can't get it.
Were you personally known to all these players, before the game? So how did that work out? Because I always wonder, because we get brought up in a sort of a staple diet of, he plays for such and such, and you hate them, right? But with you guys, you're coming from a different culture. You know each other. I saw in my local, the Bella Vita, which is in Cardonald, a few weeks ago, and Ronnie was over, Ronnie Dyler, and who's dining with him, but Raskin, Nicholas Raskin. Right. So the two of them, apparently they played, Ronnie gave him a game in Belgium. So from your point of view, although you're with Celtic and Rangers, you can't give up your friendships.
No, it's because we both understand, we all understand what it means, but I think the whole setup in Holland and the way we get to being a professional, it goes through the phases that majority of football players that make it go through. So at club level, you play against each other. In terms of tournaments, we play it. And in terms of national team or dozen youth teams at a time, you're building up, and it's the same. And sometimes I might play a year above, but also back in the days, people notice you, not because of social media, because people speak about you and people write about it.
Okay.
Let me be clear.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even Michael was a couple of years older than me, but I watched him play on a Tuesday for the Ajax reserves, watching him, and we're like, fuck, he's a good player. But we had reserve football Tuesdays always, you know what I mean? And then obviously the first team plays, but there's a certain infrastructure that you go through, and we all understand what it takes. So when we finally get to the big clubs and play against each other, and everybody, the rivalry between the two clubs is known all over. It is special, and that might be a bit weird for fans. How is they socialize with one another? I remember Il Pavoni up in Princess Square. We used to go there all the time, and a lot of people would go there just to see who's coming down that escalator, which one of the players. But Glasgow was in a good place, and good place to also just not to play football, but European football brought things good for the economy, good for the city. Scottish football, brought everything. Everything was there. And I think there was a strength, but that was men on the park. I keep saying that. Yeah. I was 27, but I felt like I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because you got good personality, strong personalities in them. Even the clubs from Motherwell, they had their players that played for their teams for years. Mm-hmm. And the men. It's slightly different. If I look at it now, it's slightly different, but that's foreigners coming in.
That Ajax game that you spoke about, that's still probably one of my favourite away memories of Celtic in the last 25 years. Did that come as a shock in your homeland as well, like with Celtic? Because Celtic hadn't done anything in Europe for quite a while before that, and to go to Amsterdam and win 3-1.
We played against, I think it was a Saturday afternoon, played against Kilmarnock, and I felt a wee twinge in my hamstring. And I wasn't too sure what would, if I had to pull out, I didn't want to aggravate it, or I was thinking about the game. And went over to Holland, and I speak about it now because Martin knows, Norman knows. I said I took my physio that I know in Holland, Rens Rijzenbach, from the Richard Smith kind of like philosophy of physiotherapy, who obviously done Beckham's ankle for Korea. That was him.
Right.
Comes from that schooling. Very hands-on, elbows, you know what I mean? First. Yeah, he had them and direct acupuncture. I got treatment Mondays and Tuesdays after in my room from 9 till 2 o'clock in the morning.
And did
I had to
did Martin and that know at the time?
I didn't know at the time, no.
So you had to sneak him in?
Yeah.
Now, I've got to say, it's not a bad story. You're sneaking in a physiotherapist.
I know. I'm sure it was a male, it was not a female, by the way. They could hands on, but...
And did they use the acupuncture?
It says because of the limited time, I've got to be straight to it, to go straight to the source. It's going to be sober. And I've done that, but that's a history. It's not somebody I picked. Like, I don't know if I can tell the story. So when I was 16, played with the Dutch national team, played Belgium. I fell on my hip and I kept getting problems with my hamstrings. We took X-ray pictures of my hips. Final time, Wim Jansen was coach, and on evidence or on the opinion of this particular surgeon, he says Bobby's got problems with his hips. Where if he keeps on playing, his hip will get out of his socket. We need to get. This is what he was saying. Is either stop football or keep option 2 is keep playing, or we take a little bit of bone out of your shin, we put it above it, but that's leg 1. So you'll be out for a year or whatever. 3 months here, then recover, then 3 months other. I said no. On that basis, we also took 2 Icelandic players to cover that space. Right. That's another thing. So I had things going against me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I went to that physio. I got through Uncle Cor and André Gieling. This says, look, I'm going to go to Amsterdam every day in the pre-season, every day. And my dad would drive me to Amsterdam on every day. I would get physio and I would cry because it made me into a pulp, and then let me recover. And then
you made into a pulp because of the manipulation.
So the key thing is, if you're gonna have a wee tear, it doesn't, and you think it heals, it's a scar tissue, right? Sometimes it's better to have a good tear, right? and so it has to be broken down.
So it then recovers better if it's a better chair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I got into a one-to-one football coach, Miki Samacic, who's renowned in Amsterdam, and based what I do now, I base my experience on that because everything was in the
But in relation to the Kilmarnock game, you feel the niggle.
Yep.
You're a doubt for the Ajax game.
Yep.
You get the physio in two nights in a row.
Yeah. We only had 2 nights.
And then you felt.
I felt. So Martin then goes before. So we go into the stadium. You walk onto the pitch like you do. You put your watch back in the dressing room. You go into the pitch. I really look, but you come back. As soon as I walk back in, I said, we want to go back into the dressing room. The gaffer goes, well, how are you feeling, Bob? I says, yeah, I feel well. Okay, you play. All right.
So did he know that you had the niggle after the Kilmarnock game?
Yeah, he knew that.
So you were a doubt, but then he gave you the chance.
Yeah, but I played there. I trained there. I managed to train before the game. Night before, I felt fine. But also that belief. So to go back to the physio, I had that belief that he knew what I was capable, and he knows what I'm like, and he knows how to kind of talk to me, and I'll settles me down, and then I was cut. I
don't know if you guys have had the acupuncture before. There was a guy called John Kerzo, was a legend. God bless his soul, with St Johnstone and Queen of the South, and he used to put me down on the bench, and he would do the acupuncture.
Yeah.
See these needles going in. They're bad enough going in, but then they do a wee wiggle with them, and it's all about getting the proper equilibrium in your muscles and your legs. But he used to do something, Bobby. He put me on the bench and he say, "One leg's longer than the other. You'll need to let me get in here." Yeah. And he would go up onto the
elbows,
into the elbows, right into the hamstring.
That's fun.
I'm literally crying. I'm crying. See when he comes off, he still when you're walking on air, and all he said is, your legs are the same size." He actually manipulate and make the muscle.
It's just our soccer. But you have to understand, it's pressure points, and even now, but just because we're sitting, there's certain part that's just on the part of your glute, and you press it, it's sore. I said, but that would loosen up because that refers back to your hamstring tights. Yeah. Everything, the whole body is connected. Yeah. They can do it through the air with acupuncture, the whole body. You can do it with the feet, with reflexology. Everything is there. But that time with Ajax was important to go. But that was the moment that Louis van Gaal actually wasn't in, but his staff was there to watch it. Now, one of my former teammates, Danny Muller, his dad Benny, he used to be a great player for Ajax at the time, and I played with Danny at RKC. He comes, Bobby, said, "Bobby, you played fantastic. I mean, if you do not get called up for the Dutch national team, I don't know." I'm like, I'm just happy that we won. I wasn't really thinking about Dutch team, and then for me to kind of get the call up, I was happy. Then I get there, we go to the hotel. We go to the bus to the training ground of Spurs, and I'm leaning over. Sits in front of me, Mark Overmars, obviously, left winger. Mark, and we talk about people know each other. He goes, "Bobby," I said, "Yes, Mark." I says, "Finally," and I says, "All right, finally." But that thing was a nice, because they know what I'm capable, and it's finding that consistency as such. It's not easy,
especially as a winger.
As a winger. Yeah. Now, and another thing, and that's from Mark Over, but also one more teammate, Johan Mjolby. There was international breaks. I think maybe he was injured or whatever. I'm sure Sweden must have played, but anyways, he was there with me at Barrowfield, and he says, "Bobby, you're not being called up for the Dutch national team." I says, "No." He says, "Well, I think you deserve it." Good. I'm like, all right. I mean, it means a lot, actually. I never expected it. And for him, but Johan doesn't say much. But when he does say something, I'll take notice. Because I appreciate his opinion. And for him to kind of come out with it, "No, I think you, based on your performance, I think you deserve a call-up." So that comes from a teammate. No, that's more I can ask for.
Encouraging.
It's encouraging. It is. And it's obviously the feedback of the fans, but it's mainly the people close and your teammates. If they tell you yes, I think deserves take something from it because they know what they're talking about, of course. But you trust that opinion. And even if there's a negative thing, you take it on board. Okay, I'll work on it. I'll try to figure it out. Yeah, I've got a point. I might work on that.
They see you day in, day out, the work rate you put in, the effort you put in. So, like you say, coming from someone like him who maybe isn't the most vocal.
Yes.
It's going to
when he does say something, you take note. Because you don't want to get Dolph angry. But again, it's just you see all these kind of characters. See when ball comes on the right, he gets his head bone, and somebody comes in like Henrik Flo, comes in with his leg, hits half his leg, but he gets up. So nowadays they're lying on the floor for 10 minutes. I mean, see that whole. If I just look back on the way football was played, my experience in Scotland and the team, it's just quite different.
That whole Celtic team under Martin O'Neill was special times, like that Champions League campaign, the first one, race against Juventus, it was special.
Yeah, I think that was one of the atmosphere, and it was like this 4-3, and Edwards' quality. The atmosphere in the stadium was, I can't really describe it. The electrifier just buzzing.
Yeah, straight up.
The crowd and just the way we played football, but the team that they had.
Hello.
And the type of goals that were scored, I think that everybody that in Celtic Park, we were obviously kind of like unbeatable. They were hard to break down, and I think they knew. But we might concede, but we will score. Because we had that strength of the team, phenomenal strikers, of course, that can make the difference. I remember that game. Joost van Gaarden most Alex Wilk. You can head a diving header. And obviously Chris Sutton. Can't forget his volley. This is left back.
I remember Lubo Moravcik nutmegging Pavel Nedved in that game.
But also Didier that day. Oh my God, he's got a certain way, right, Didier, when he doesn't dribble, he skips with it, right? Skips on his first couple, skips, and then he thinks, he's not going to get that. Then he goes into it, and then he thinks. I don't know if he's got another gear. And he's got another gear, he goes, and then but they think they've got it, but he goes in extra gear. It's just phenomenal to watch. And I've seen Didier a couple of years ago in Thailand again, and we talk about it. I said, man, look, see, if I had your speed, right, and if you had my crossing ability, I would make the joke, but phenomenal. And we had he's a humble man. And I think, once again, I've got something, he's got something. I wish they had something of his, it was of mine, and vice versa. Everybody had something to add towards the quality of the team. And I think, and I'm just there, we're talking 20 years later, I would never have thought I'd be back in Glasgow. I never think we would be talking about this, my experience, what it means for Celtic. It's only the last few years that kind of starts to grow, and it's humbling. I'm grateful for that. I still play my part in the history of this great club, and there's something right there,
Brilliant.
Thanks for joining us once again on This Is Acsom, from Barrowfield to the Barrowlands. Join us again next Friday at the same time, where we will be talking to another ex-Celt.